915-544-KTSM. 915-544-5876. Or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the social pages, including facebook.com/Talk El Paso, Twitter @Talk El Paso, YouTube, the Talk El Paso channel, and Twitch, which is Andrew J. Polk. That's me. Also find me on some other pages on there, because there's a lot of ways we put this out in order of interest in particular ways. We talk about slightly different things in different places, but this show goes all of those places. So it is Friday. We have made it through another very interesting week with a lot going on. At the very least, that little thing called an election, and also setting up the next one. We'll talk more about that and a whole lot more, because literally I get some very concrete ways that we are on the cusp of that next election. So hope you had time to catch your breath after running out as fast as you could to vote in this past one, which I'm really hoping that everyone who listens to this station did, but I haven't crunched those numbers. Don't know if anyone, if it actually, if it actually covers that. Kevin Willis letting you know that, yes, you can also listen to your car as you drive. I don't neglect mentioning, maybe I do neglect mentioning the on-air audience as much, because, those are some of the online, more interactive places that I specifically mentioned, but y'all are definitely not forgotten, particularly on a day like today when we will take your calls, anyone's calls really, throughout the hour. So that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. So just a couple things I want to set up here. One of those more concrete ways of how we are on the cusp of that next election is that the filing deadline, or filing window, I guess, opens as of next week here, or the week after. Within, basically end of this coming week, it's going to be the start of the 2022 candidate primary election filing window. Yeah, so that's that activity. We already had some of those statewide candidates on this show previously, some of the real top of ballot, real top of mind ones, but we're starting to get reached out by more. So once we enter that window, we'll probably get a bit more into it, because that's when things will start getting interesting. I think we also do have another one of those candidate surveys coming out here from our news partners. During that, we might have a little bit more discussion about that, with some more expectations about how upcoming elections might go, or even past the primary more specifically. But in any case, we are taking those comments and calls throughout the hour. We still have standards, particularly those FCC ones, if you're calling in on the phone, but otherwise we'll take on any subject. So let's start us off here. Again, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
Yes, this is Andrew from the West Side.
Hi there, Andrew. What's on your mind?
Yes, I'd like to comment about this lawsuit that the feds have filed against Texas regarding SB 1, the voting rights, the new election law that came into play.
Yep.
Okay. From what I can tell, reading all 52 pages of SB 1, and believe me, it is detailed, I can't see any violation of the Voting Rights Act. All it does is, enhance election security, and in no way does it prohibit or inhibit people with disabilities from voting. As a matter of fact, it enhances the type of assistance offered, either through election officials or even individuals who want to assist them. The only thing is, people that are not related to the individual that's voting, you have to sign an affidavit that you're not in any way influencing or been paid to influence that person that you're helping to vote. But anyway, those are just my thoughts on that. And then regarding to the arrest of Durchenko yesterday, well, this is the number 3 in the long list of people that were involved in the fake Russia collusion deal. I think individuals are going to have to be exonerated, because there might be some problem with Brady material that was not disclosed to the defense in this matter. Anyway, I digress, and I'll leave the mics open for other people.
No, absolutely. Thank you for those points on that call. The Steele dossier, if that hasn't set kind of the tone for the past more than 4 years at this point, with a really very strange piece of that I at most consider fan fiction, because the weirdness and the specificity of it, and then the lack of backup of it, and now some of the fallout of it. I've never taken it particularly seriously. There are those out there that is frothing at the mouth about it, but well, that actually was a pretty good sign for me that maybe this wasn't the most serious person, because yeah, just weird stuff going into it, and now that people are getting well, even under this administration, getting a little bit of a legal trouble their way based on stuff like that. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. But yeah, just it was a weird document to have even just skimmed through after I saw hands of it. I was like, okay, I can't do too much of this, or I'm not gonna be able to sleep at night. Just with the, again, yeah. If you really want to find stuff like that on the internet, you absolutely can. But it being codified and put into a document that was then taken seriously, weird is the best way I'm going to choose to put that at this point here. But also on that, the whole SB1 thing, I really do think that, particularly in the debate about it, that there was a real missed mark when it came to the way, at the very least, Democrats in the state were talking about it, and then, of course, by extension, nationally, about the impacts of it, because the law itself, yeah, the flat reading of it is one thing, but I think that some of the concerns really ended up coming from stuff that was not present in the law, like availability of voting centers and stuff like that. But at the same time, that wasn't really what you were hearing in the debate about the law itself. Now, was it? And this is, I mean, now that's what the lawsuit is going to be based on. Again, as we had talked about, I think last week, bringing up the Voting Rights Act as an enforcement measure for this, that the Voting Rights Act got gutted in, I think it was even before the previous administration, if I'm getting my timelines right here. So to say that that's what this rests on is a little weird. But one addendum to make to your point there as well, that we do have some new lawsuits being filed actually against the elective districts itself. So I may have conflated them a little bit yesterday, so my apologies if I led anyone astray on that federal lawsuit, and then challenges to the district, of which District 23, which of course now includes a larger portion of El Paso County, keeps getting mentioned as one to be looked at. So that might have some local impacts here, some potential changes for that primary election I was just talking about, because we have the Mexican-American Legislative Caucus filed another suit Wednesday, arguing the new House map is unconstitutional. And then Senate District 10 incumbent State Senator Beverly Powell of Fort Worth filed a suit in a different state court challenging that specific redrawn district, again, SD 10. So a couple of challenges coming to that as well. So a lot of legal stuff surrounding this. I don't really have a good perspective, I guess, on how well these kind of challenges work, particularly in this era of the Voting Rights Act no longer being there. I mean, the major overriding guideline, because that's not really a firm rule for most states, particularly not Texas, that I'm aware of, is compact and concise. Maybe not concise, but definitely compact and representative, probably better description of what districts are supposed to be, which arguably some don't fit that, but again, also not exactly a force of law measure behind that phrasing there. So I don't know. But again, we're taking those calls throughout the hour. So 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. We'll get to one more quick one before we hit this next break here. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
This is Ben on the east side.
Hey there. What's on your mind?
Well, if you want to learn, get ahead of all the things that are going to be coming up in the news about Russiagate, all you have to do is learn about read the first three books, or all three books of Dan Bongino, and you'll learn a lot about what's going to be going on. Okay, the other thing I want to know is, do you know anything about the First Movers conference that they had?
Oh, we're talking about the one in going on right now. I think, where the heck is that? Over in Europe? Glasgow. Thank you. Yeah.
And that Biden has signed us on to. He said we are now part of the First Movers process over in Glasgow, which is basically a public-private partnership that will bring on the Green New Deal.
Yeah, there's a few different ways it's being referred to, such as also that the COP26, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Yeah, the phrasing around this is confusing. Yeah,
it will change the very lives of every American And right from now on, if they get this through, if they do what they say they're going to do, we will not, in a year, we will not know what is happening. We won't recognize our country.
I think we might be on a trajectory for that anyway for other issues, but thank you for those points there. Important things for people to keep in mind there. Do appreciate that. Again, we're due for a break right now, but coming back from the breaks, we're going to be talking more about these issues and taking more calls on the line there. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. A lot of topics, a lot of issues, a lot of things we'll keep talking about after this break here. Also, comments on the Facebook page and other social media pages. Get to those and more after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. To deal with all these pretty heavy issues that we sometimes get into here, or whatever comes through your day, something that I reach for, I've got a nice cup next to me right here, just got my latest batch in of Clever Tea. That's Klevertea, as in the stuff that you drink, locally produced, locally created, and locally made right here in the borderland. Just seeing their new stuff in the works there. Got a little sneak preview today that I'll hope be bringing you more of in the future here, but you can get it for yourself. Their delicious Oolong Wise blend, which comes with a very nice mix of coconut, pineapple, hibiscus, eucalyptus, hawthornberry, and cinnamon. You can get it in boxes or bottles. I like it when they make it because they also sweeten it with just the right amount of monk fruit that makes it just, I'm not usually a sweet tea person, and this falls right in that, no pun intended, sweet spot between the unsweetened and the pre-made stuff because it's also 0 calories, so it keeps you on track with whatever your goals are. It's just the right amount of caffeine for me anyway to keep me going and getting through and keeping these discussions strong. So to find it for yourself, they'll be out in the community this weekend. It's coming Saturday from 8 to 1 p.m. at the Hotel Paso del Norte, and on Sunday from 11 to 3 at the Upper Valley Artisan Market, or find it for yourself day or night, 24/7 over at clevertea.com to order your own box. That's Clevertea, KLEVRTEA.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
There continues to be some heavy traffic on Lee Trevino Drive northbound between Traywood and Pebble Hills. Also, there's some traffic on the 10 westbound between Wrestler and Thorne Avenue. And there's construction that has the roadway reduced to 2 lanes on Gateway Boulevard northbound between Kenworthy and Sean Haggerty Drive. Also, the off-ramp is closed on the Loop 375 southbound at Alameda Avenue. I'm Marae Jourdain with traffic.
Ready to win cash?
Yes!
It's $1,000. A grand in your hand.
Oh my God!
Win $1,000 every hour. At least 12 chances every weekday. A grand in your hand. Your chance to win is on the way.
A grand in your hand is brought to you by the Charlie Clark Automotive Group.
This report is sponsored by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy for free with DuckDuckGo.
Your life, your hopes, and whatever you were searching for at 1:15 a.m. It's really none of our business, and it shouldn't be anyone else's. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. 30 to 40% of food goes uneaten in the U.S., and the average American family of 4 loses $1,500 to uneaten food each year. Shop smarter and save money and emissions by making a grocery list, controlling meal portions, eating leftovers, and composting. When we all chip in, our world becomes a better place. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Hey folks, this is Andrew J. Polk. As the days get shorter, you don't want to get caught in the spooky situation of not knowing where to go to get quality medical care and services when you need it. From the routine to minor medical emergencies, my go-to is Dr. Alan Carpenter and his team at Upper Valley Urgent Care Center. From shots and testing to aches, sprains, breaks, and the rest of the unplanned parts of your day, they're at the ready with walk-ins accepted 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week at 121 East Red Road. Celebrating their 15th anniversary this fall, Upper Valley Urgent Care Center.
When it comes to you and your family's health, you want the best care at the best price. That's where Altrua Health Share comes in. With Altrua Health Share, you'll have access to top quality medical providers and facilities, all within your budget. You can find an option that's right for you in a community of other like-minded, health-conscious individuals. Ready to find out more? Dial pound 250 on your cell phone and say My Share to learn more. That's pound 250 and then say the words My Share.
You'll have the option to receive a one-time auto dial text message from iHeartMedia.
Hi, this is Rick from the air conditioning company.
Cold air is coming, so now's the time to get your furnace working right. If your unit's more than 20 years old, it's inefficient and doesn't have the new safety devices. The new furnaces are more efficient and pay for themselves. Act now and get the best prices of the year and save up to 25%. Our expert techs can put money back in your pocket. Call 842-8615 today or log on to airconditioningcompanyllc.com. The Air Conditioning Company. You'll love our company. License number 26622E.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Bunch of stuff we're talking about here today and a lot more we're going to because it is Friday. It is time for those open lines throughout the show for free for all Friday. Also comments, which we got a few coming in over on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all those places that we are streaming. And this is, again, I don't want any of y'all listening terrestrial radio, traditional radio to feel slighted in the least. So that is why we are taking those calls throughout the hour. That number to call, 915-544-5876. 544 KTSM. Some discussion about a current representation, I think, in relation to those redistricting conversations. John Brazelton saying that Congresswoman Escobar crying into her beer over the redistricting here. I'm a little bit confused about that whole conversation because, what we got going on is that El Paso grew less in proportion to how much the rest of the state grew, so things weren't going to be able to stay the same. But yet I keep seeing references to that this was a cracked district, which just doesn't make sense to me. Like, if there are cracked districts, like you see some of them, particularly around like the Houston area or those real dense metroplexes, that there are these strange snake-looking creatures going through them. Like, yeah, that's pretty apparent, but what else was the option out here to keep it proportional and representative? There's no good answer I'm hearing on those lines here. But Calvin Williams making an interesting point that when it comes to redistricting, to redrawing the districts rather, be careful what you wish for. You may be able to tell the difference between red and blue, but angry doesn't show up. I think there's going to be some energization if there is not anything forward moving happening ahead of the midterms, particularly, which again, we're in that campaign season. That much has already been trickling in for months before now. Heck, even before my trip to see CPAC in Dallas over the summer. And now we literally have the filing period coming up here. So yeah, it's campaign season again. Buckle up, kids. So getting to more of those calls in the line here. One point that did come up from the previous caller was wanting to mention also during the break, impacts to creation of concrete and cement. Portland cement, if you don't know, the creation of it actually a very high temperature and fairly polluting process. It puts a lot of dust in the air. So maybe not the same kind of way we talk about pollution in general, but seriously, places around that have issues that have to be dealt with, so that the fact that this may be constrained by whatever is coming out of the UN Climate Change Conference, why is it COP 26? I haven't seen it. It's the 26th COP, but there are so many names for this. It's like it's intentionally obfuscating and confusing to just even have the discussion about it. But anyway, all of that, anything coming out of it, I think that if the focus is only on the future, you're going to miss and tripping on your feet in the current situation, because we are seeing increasing supply chain issues here that if we're only talking about what's going to be in the future without dealing with what's on the plate now, I mean, it's the economy, stupid, is such an important phrase that gets really devalued, particularly when we're looking at serious economic ramifications. Like, sure, for this Christmas, we're talking, well, you might not be able to get what you want. But if things don't get work done on these levels, I think a dismal Christmas is going to be the least of our worries going forward. So I'd definitely like to see a better solution right now for that. But getting to a few more calls on the line here right now, we do have Barbara on the west side with us. Barbara, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Anne, for taking my call. Finally Friday.
Mm-hmm.
This is in response to Tony. And he said, Barbara,
Mm-hmm.
Barbara, yesterday.
He did.
And yes, and I just wanted to say, you can never give up. No matter how bleak things look, you never give up. He must not have watched Virginia. He must not have watched the squeak in New Jersey. I guess he didn't watch New York or Minneapolis or San Antonio. I mean, these were all movements. And today, the Democratic Governors Association, you know what they said about Florida? They're not going to be giving any candidates in Florida money to run against DeSantis. The message is getting out there. DeSantis is a strong mayor. So why bother spending your money? And the next thing I would like to just give a shout out to Fox Nation. They had a fantastic 3-part series on January 6th. So if all of you, and it's free for, I don't know how many months the subscription is. So it's worth going in and watching the January 6th riot. And Tucker also had a series on wind turbines. That's worth watching. So if it's free and you guys don't have it and you want to see some stuff different and maybe change your mind and see what is really actually happening, I would recommend those two. That's all I had today. I just didn't have anything. I didn't want to get into a lot of politics. Just wanted to respond to Tony.
Fair enough. And
Thanks,
that's
Andrew.
yeah, appreciate it. You have a good weekend too. Do appreciate it. I mean, and Tony did send me that link about a charity you want to look at, looking into them here, but want to have some more discussion on that probably as we get more into the season, particularly the giving back season, which already in swing here, frankly. Want to talk more about those groups because there were some others saying that they would prefer to look to the more immediate local community. But I understand however you're going to look to giving back, just please do so in this season if you're in the position to do so, because it's important and supports our community. Absolutely. So thank you for those points. We're trying to get to at least a couple more calls, maybe one more call before we hit the next break. You're taking them throughout the hour. And again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Right now, we do have Dr. Kincaid on the line. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew, for letting me on. I've been absent on the station for quite a while since I shut down my show several years ago. But I wanted to just reach out to all the listeners in El Paso and put a few salient points about this COVID stuff that's going on now. I was listening to the radio earlier and I heard this horrible, scary report that, you know, El Paso had the worst COVID report card yesterday than it had in months or some sort of thing like that. The public is being flummoxed. It's being bamboozled by, you know, lies and insinuations about this disease. COVID is a virus that is clinically and statistically no worse than a bad flu. If you look at the CDC numbers right now at this point in time, you know, young people, children especially, whom they're pushing this shot for, have less than a 0.003 chance. That's 99.997% chance of not even getting critically ill, much less dying. The disease does not affect young people. However, when you look at the vaccination, it modifies your genetics. That's what it does. It is an operating platform, and that's what the companies have said all along. And it does not protect you. A vaccine is supposed to keep you from getting this disease and keep you from spreading it. Yesterday, I saw a video of Vice President Kamala Harris saying all of the people in the hospitals now are vaccinated. And she repeated it twice to encourage people to get more vaccines. Well, you know, if it doesn't work the first time, why would it work the second time? Realistically speaking, there's more chance of young people going into the hospital with a reaction to the vaccine than getting the vaccine. And so I'm pleading with parents of El Paso, do not vaccinate your children against COVID. Until they get a safer vaccine, it's not worth it. And that's my 2 cents.
Fair enough there. I mean, I think that having the discussion about the factors involved with it and being educated and advocating for yourself on your own health is an important issue. I think that El Paso has had a pretty good model when it comes to dealing with all of this. We haven't really seen the carrot and the stick models being present in our area because they didn't need to be. People made their own individual choices on it. So definitely take what you have in mind here. Don't have any kids myself, but different situations for different families are going to affect it in different ways, particularly if those that are, you know, multi-generational households we have here is, again, coming down to the availability of people to make their own decisions, which it looks like it being fought for, at least here in Texas. We'll see what comes down from mandates. I think that's just going to add to the troubles of the current administration, but thank you for those points and that perspective here. Do appreciate it. All right, we're coming up on the need for another break here right now. So coming back from the break, we are going to be taking more of those calls in the line because, again, doing that throughout the hour. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. A lot of things we're talking about here today, and if you want to call in, that's the number to do so, or also leaving comments over on the social pages. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690. With all of the celebrations coming up this year, whatever you may be planning for you or for yourself can be to a little bit more stress than even just in the planning for them. So one thing that you can do to relieve some of that stress is knowing where to go if you have those minor medical emergencies, something that would, I don't know if it disrupts your plans, make it even more stressful. You don't even have to worry about it because you know that Upper Valley Urgent Care is going to be there for you. If you run into those day disruptors, those aches, breaks, sprains, bruises, bashes, sniffles, coughs, needing for testing, all of it, you absolutely can rely on them because they are available 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on a walk-in basis. No appointment needed with 5-star, fast, and friendly medical treatment. You can find them over at 121 East Red Road, which is just west of I-10 and Red Road. So it's a pretty easy jaunt from wherever you may be coming to in our area. And again, they've got the capabilities for everything from minor medical treatment to x-ray capabilities. Find them and celebrating their 15th anniversary this fall, Upper Valley Urgent Care Center.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update. Governor Greg Abbott has a comfortable lead over potential Democratic challenger Beto O'Rourke, according to a new poll from the University of Texas at Austin and the Texas Tribune. The survey of registered voters found Abbott with a 9 percentage point advantage over O'Rourke, 46% to 37%. 7% of respondents picked someone else in the hypothetical matchup, and 10% said they haven't even thought about it enough to have an opinion. O'Rourke is increasingly expected to challenge the Republican governor for a third term next year, though he hasn't made an announcement official yet. Both men have vulnerabilities, according to the survey. Abbott's approval rating has slightly improved since the last poll in August, but it remains underwater, with 43% of voters approving of the job he's doing and 48% disapproving. And U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials are working for preparedness and asking people for patience as they're able to take advantage of the first stage of reopening next week following pandemic travel restrictions on our ports of entry. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
There continues to be some heavy traffic on Lee Trevino Drive northbound between Traywood and Pebble Hills. Also, there's some traffic on the 10 westbound between Wrestler and Thorne Avenue. And there's construction that has the roadway reduced to 2 lanes on Gateway Boulevard northbound between Kenworthy and Sean Haggerty Drive. Also, the off-ramp is closed on the Loop 375 southbound at Alameda Avenue. I'm Marae Jourdain with traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. So we do have a very nice weekend ahead of us, but that's only if you are a fan of warmer temperatures, because we will see the return of highs in the lower 80s. Just keep in mind those nights remain pretty chilly with overnight temperatures in the 40s for tonight, and then this weekend they'll be in the lower 50s. But as we get through next week, we will see another weather maker arriving to wrap up the work week.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. During Lowe's Provember event, new members of their Pro Loyalty program get a welcome kit via mail, and every member gets a chance to win amazing prizes. Provember, now through November 24th. Lowe's, the new home for pros.
Thank you for your service. If you're a veteran and Medicare eligible, Advocate Health Advisors can help you get all the benefits you qualify for. They are highly trained in the fusion of Medicare and military benefits and represent a variety of plans in the greater El Paso and surrounding areas. You may qualify for additional benefits such as dental, vision, hearing, transportation, and more. They can help you with a no-cost, no-obligation review. To learn how you qualify, please contact Eric Lowenberg at 1-800-876-0214. That's 1-800-876-0214.
After months of hibernation, it's time for a celebration. The Junior League of El Paso presents a Christmas fair, November 5th through 7th at the El Paso Convention Center. For 48 years, this tradition has been an El Paso favorite. Great shopping, hundreds of merchants, delicious food, special events, and photos with Santa. It's the sweetest time of the year. All proceeds benefit the community projects of the Junior League of El Paso. Tickets on sale now. Visit achristmasfair.com for all the details.
Your life, your hopes, and whatever you were searching for at 1:15 a.m. It's really none of our business, and it shouldn't be anyone else's. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
This report is sponsored by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy for free with DuckDuckGo.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, here to Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of ways you can participate in the show, a lot of ways to tune in, a lot of ways to take advantage on this Free-for-All Friday with those open lines throughout the show, taking both the calls and the comments. Phone line's full up at the moment, but if you want to try a little bit later, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. And also, a lot of comments going on the Facebook page, the social media pages in general. Leslie Jones leaving a comment. John Browson, Barbara Carrasco, Edgar Ortiz, Epifanio Yanni. Apparently I've been saying that wrong. Calvin Williams, Louis Pinato, and more. John Hurts a little bit earlier. And one I want to mention that specifically Edgar Ortiz saying Friday before the Marine Corps' birthday. The celebration starts now, Semper Fi. And some responding back there with their service there. So thank you all for your service and happy celebration there. Stay safe with whatever you're doing. No comment there. But also, again, taking those calls. Also, Talk El Paso, brought to you in part by Monterey Asset Management. If you're tired of the ups and downs on the stock market, consider investing in real estate. Monterey manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. Check out their new website, m1ep.com. That's m1ep.com to learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate. You can call certified property manager Ray Baca at 915-592-4549. That's 915-592-4549. Thank you to our sponsors. Please support them as they support us and our mission to bring live local talk radio back to the borderland, which we are continuing to do. And particularly when we have this discussion coming up on Fridays, it really is in evidence now, isn't it? So, got a few more calls on the line here. A lot of discussions going on here. So, right now we do have Raul in the Northeast here. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. I love history, and I've been a long-time student of it, world history and American history. And that's why I love your dad's show. I've been a long-time fan of his show. The January 6th attack on the Capitol by Trump's mob is the second worst thing that has happened in my lifetime. The first being the Vietnam War. That was highly divisive, and it was a generational conflict, and the country was very, very divided over that. I'm a child of the Cold War who remembers the air raid exercises we had here in El Paso during the Cuban Missile Crisis, when the Soviet Union and the Russians were the biggest, baddest enemy in the world, you know? And that's what made Trump's bromance with Putin so strange. Totally strange. Almost as strange as Trump saying he fell in love with North Korean commie dictator Kim. I mean, really crazy stuff. And I know that Vladimir Putin is a lot smarter, richer, and more powerful than Trump has ever been, except when he was the president. You know, he had the power there, the presidency. Putin spotted him years ago. He was at head of the KGB at one time, Putin was. And he ended up compromising and playing Trump with Trump's gods of money and arrows. And Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who has access to some of the country's most sensitive intelligence, told Trump to his face in a meeting in the White House with Trump surrounded by his people, she told him to his face, all roads with you lead to Putin. She impeached Trump 2 times, one for inciting an insurrection that could have resulted in her death, and that of other prominent Democrats, and Mike Pence, who they were yelling, hang Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence. They had a gallows out there ready for him. So Trump wanted to take her out because he knew that if he lost the power, protection, and privileges of the presidency, he'd be totally screwed, and he is. Thank you.
Kind of sounds like you're circling the drain a little bit along the talk about the Steele dossier, which has gotten a lot more focus in recent days. But I've actually thought about that a decent amount, about the apparent personal proclivities of the president, former president, when it comes to international affairs and certain things. I'm not saying that I like, frankly, most world leaders, particularly not Putin or Kim Jong-un, but when I just get another bit of perspective on that there, having talked previously in previous years with a conservation organization, particularly international ones, you know, looking at other preserving international hunting grounds, things like that, or preserving endangered species, which can have some cross purposes, surprisingly enough, but that's a whole different subject. But one of the things that strikes me the most and has stuck with me over the years is that for those international organizations looking to set up habitats or, protect endangered species, the easiest ones and countries for them to work for are frankly the most authoritarian. And this is not a defensive authoritarianism, but in those cases, they tend to get stuff done because they can do it without there being so many different and, frankly, in certain areas, poachers can be considered stakeholders, but not in those certain circumstances. So, given the background of the former president as a business person and, frankly, the host of The Apprentice, which people seem to forget about, being interested in those who seem to have power well sewn up didn't surprise me that much, I guess I will say, in particular here. But, I mean, January 6th, particularly putting that comparison with things like 9/11, I'm not saying that I was in favor of people storming the Capitol building and then being surprised there were repercussions. Well, maybe in favor of that part, of them being surprised that you would storm a secured federal building and wonder why you're then getting arrested. But I digress. But particularly in comparison with that, with the 20th anniversary having just gone by, that's a pretty poor one in my mind here. All right, getting to at least a couple more calls on the line here. We do have Al in the Northeast right now. Al, thanks for joining us.
Well, I'd like to open up with response to Raul. He seems to not only be a liberal Kool-Aid drinker, but I think he's the one making it. One point to him, let's remember what Pelosi said about patriotism. She equalized it. She put it on equal terms with terrorism. So we can go from there. But my topic today are chemtrails. Chemtrails. I think you should devote an entire show to the fact that the government is seriously censoring any information about this geoengineering, as they call it. We can walk out here in El Paso in our beautiful weather mornings with a clear blue sky, and within a couple hours, you get a checkerboard pattern of chemtrails. Some people think these are ordinary commercial flights, but they are not. You used to be able to go on YouTube and see videos of the airplanes that spread this so-called geoengineering chemicals lined up like the World War II bombers. But the government has censored that, including all people that have tried to whistleblow this topic. Jesse Ventura, for one, is powerful enough not to be totally shut up, but there was a master sergeant in the Air Force who tried to blow the whistle on these people, and he's now somewhere in the catacombs of Leavenworth. I think this is a topic that is obvious here. They're doing it all over the world, and they've been doing it for decades. If they think they say they are controlling the weather, but they're putting everything from mind-altering drugs to who knows what in those chemicals that they're dropping on us in aluminized particulate.
You're getting pretty far afield for me here, particularly, but as with most things that become a little bit more out there than I think I'm willing to accept, there is an impact that happens from the emissions coming from airplanes or chemtrails, or as they're just called, contrails, for the most part. Literally, I remember going back in the day and seeing An Inconvenient Truth. Remember that old film, which seems pretty dated at this point, and them talking about how on 9/11, when flights around the world, particularly the United States, but particularly incoming ones, were grounded, was one of the clearest days that had been seen in decades because of the fact that there were not the planes flying across anywhere in the continental United States. And specifically, they did some analysis based on what was called then the pan evaporation rate, which kind of sounds fancy, but it literally means how much water evaporates from a pan of water of a set size, volume, etc., or can be then set to a standard formula of how much evaporation happened over a set period of time, and then it went up significantly there. So again, you lose me a little bit when you start getting into active dispersal and purposeful things of it, but the exhaust and just the stuff coming out of planes themselves, yeah, absolutely. We mostly see it in the contrails, the white fluffy things you see behind the planes, but there is actually exhaust mixed in with that as well that can cause other cloud formation events, or more specifically, affect how just formation of weather happens. So again, a little far afield there for me, and I doubt we'll do a full show on that. But if you're not considering that as having an impact, I mean, really, it pretty simply for me goes into when we're talking about that COP26 conference that just happened, all about climate change. How many people ended up, I don't know, flying on a jet there? So I don't even think you need to go that far afield to find impacts and reason to be concerned about that in general. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that here today. All right, we're coming up on the need for another break here, but coming back from the break, we will be talking more about the issues affecting us here in the borderland and beyond, because Well, it is Friday, and that's what we do here on these days. So we'll be back with more Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. The number to call, 915-544-5876. Back after the break with more. Another way you can do to take control of what you have going on in your life is by staying on top of the latest medical innovations by tuning in every Saturday at noon here to the Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao here on News Radio 690 KTSM. He helps you navigate our complex medical system with healthcare hacks and insights on treatments for common medical problems. You can even submit your questions ahead of the show, but he'll be getting into some of those treatment implications and also other things that are being studied, including zinc in the frame of reference of the current pandemic, plus other minimally invasive procedures and treatments. Again, submit your questions ahead of future shows by emailing rao@medicalhackers.com. That's RAO @medicalhackers.com. And be sure to tune in this Saturday at noon, right after the El Paso History Radio Show, to the Medical Hackers on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
There continues to be some heavy traffic on Lee Trevino Drive northbound between Traywood and Pebble Hills. Also, there's some traffic on the 10 westbound between Wrestler and Thorne Avenue. And there's construction that has the roadway reduced to 2 lanes on Gateway Boulevard northbound between Kenworthy and Sean Haggerty Drive. Also, the off-ramp is closed on the Loop 375 southbound at Alameda Avenue. I'm Marae Jourdain with traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Lowe's Provember event is back, and they're thanking pros like you all month long with top values on pro brands like DeWalt and Spyder, online or in stores through November 24th. Lowe's, the new home for pros. U.S. only.
In the 90s, Bruce Willis couldn't avoid the spotlight until he discovered a tiny mountain town. On the podcast Haleywood, discover what happened when Hollywood glamour collided with the small town values of Haley, Idaho.
It's a tale people close to Bruce Willis have never been keen on telling, but it's a story the people of Haley are recounting in detail for the very first time.
Listen to Haleywood, that's Hailey, on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. Brought to you by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo.
Hey folks, this is Andrew J. Polk. As the days get shorter, you don't want to get caught in the spooky situation of not knowing where to go to get quality medical care and services when you need it. From the routine to minor medical emergencies, my go-to is Dr. Alan Carpenter and his team at Upper Valley Urgent Care Center. From shots and testing to aches, sprains, breaks, and the rest of the unplanned parts of your day, they're at the ready with walk-ins accepted 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week at 121 East Red Road. Celebrating their 15th anniversary this fall, Upper Valley Urgent Care Center.
New on Curiosity Stream. After man landed on the moon, what did all the rocket scientists do?
Hey, let's build a rocket that is simple in concept.
Pushing technology in ways that make today's rockets possible. It's Fly Rocket Fly. And one Mexican drug lord made himself a household name with cunning and savvy.
His business sense is worthy of a Harvard degree.
It's the origin of El Chapo and the CEO of Sinaloa. They're new this week on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are just $20. Visit curiositystream.com.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Brought to you in part by the Air Conditioning Company. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 5 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
Hi, Phil Swift here for the Flex Seal family of products. You know, there's a lot of ways to protect your home. You could dig a moat. You could bubble wrap it. Or you could train a pack of wolves to protect it. But the best way is with the Flex Seal family of products. So when you need to patch, bond, seal, repair, and stop leaks fast, get the Flex Seal family of products. Available at flexsealproducts.com and fine retailers.
Your life, your hopes, and whatever you were searching for at 1:15 a.m. It's really none of our business, and it shouldn't be anyone else's. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
Monterey Asset Management, superior multifamily property management services citywide.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
It may not be October anymore, but that doesn't mean that breast cancer awareness is any less important, or even that there are less programs and benefits available in our area to help support that. Specifically, Therapeutics and Thermography Inc., which is at 935 Sunland Park Drive inside Biometrics, is continuing their $50 off all breast thermograms through the end of the year in support of it. So that means that you can get access to this different technique that literally is body imaging, like a heat map for your body, to help detect in different ways and possibly even earlier than other methods what's going on and what you should be investigating further to stay better on top of your health. So to find out all the information about that and how the FDA-approved process is fully working, you can call them at 915-401-4053. That's 915-401-4053. Or find them online at elpasothermography.com. Claim your $50 off a breast thermogram through the end of the year. Again, that's El Paso Thermography, THERMOGRAPHY.com.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Bunch of ways to interact with the show. A lot of people taking advantage of that, either with calls right now to 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM, leaving us pound 250 messages, or over on the many social media pages where we got Louis Panato, Leslie Jones, Michael Perez, Calvin Williams, and more. Barbara Carrasco a little bit earlier with some interesting commentary. Jay Visconti a little bit earlier. So Edgar Ortiz as well. A lot of things being talked about here. So if you want to go see the conversation where the Skeptic Squad lives, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, among others, you can certainly dive in there for one forearm. Talk El Paso also brought to you in part by the air conditioning company. We are looking at those temperatures changing in this season. So now is the time to take care of your HVAC system, particularly the heating part of that equation, so you can lock in the best prices of the year and save as much as 25%. Call 915-842-8615, 915-842-8615, or log on to airconditioningcompanyllc.com. Again, act now and secure the best prices of the year and save up to 25%, both in terms of your pocketbook and plus added benefit, peace of mind, knowing your system is working well with all the safety features. Again, that's airconditioningcompanyllc.com. Please thank you to our sponsors. Please support them as they support us here. So a lot of stuff we're talking about here today, but squeezing in a couple more calls before the end of the hour. Right now, we do have Frankie and Messia. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
All right. I was patiently waiting for my turn, and my jaw just hit the floor. I wanted to make a comment about what Bewildered Barbara had said. But before that, you had this guy by the name of Al. I'm going to call him Abnormal Al. Are you kidding me? He's saying World War II bombers are dropping mind-altering drugs on the American population? Oh, my, that's a subject for another day. I want to address Bewildered Barbara. She gets on your program and recommends a program on Foul Noise Network Nation about this January 6th thing. Why? First off, that's ridiculous. This is the most stupidest nonsense. It's the Republicans, conservatives trying to whitewash this whole nonsense. Why not if you're going to do that, why not just advertise on your program a three-part series on how to run a concentration camp, for crying out loud? What kind of idiocy is this? I mean, this is off the wall. Second or third point, the Democrats with this Florida thing, no kidding. I'm not going to spend any money if a bunch of Florida freaks and funks want to run off the cliff. I'm not going to spend a nickel or a dime. Go ahead, let them do that. What a bunch of bozos. Thank you very much. I'll do pound 250 another day.
Fair enough there. Interesting points there. I'm not quite following you on the comparison between January 6th and concentration camps, but I will say this. While there are some interesting personalities on many other of the news outlets nationally, I find the news coverage, the actual news coverage, because there's a very important point to be made in the difference between news and the opinion coverage. Basically, the later you get into the day on any of the national news networks, particularly the 24-hour ones, the less non-opinion it is. So it becomes more opinionated as you get later in the day, is the general rule of thumb here. So I mean, they've also got other things talking about here. Condoleezza Rice article from Fox News saying that January 6th was her, quote, worst day since 9/11, unquote, and that she cried watching the day unfold here. So, I mean, there's a lot of decent coverage that comes out of all of them. But, again, particular personalities, no comment on any particular ones here, end up becoming, let's just say, more interesting. Absolutely. All right, trying to get at least one more call on the line here. We do have Tony on the west side right now. Tony, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Real quick to give somebody else a chance. I got one word for you, Frankie. Polygrip. Now, Barbara, I appreciate your words of encouragement, okay? I appreciate that. But with what Biden did today over at Glasgow or wherever he did that Green Deal, you got to wonder if we still have hope. So I hope so, but I'm not optimistic because, again, their gods are the earth over humanity and so forth. And as far as American progress, American jobs, American gasoline prices go down, they don't care about that. They really, because our footprint, our carbon footprint in their view is already too big. So they don't care about that. It's no more American progress. Remember what Obama said, our best days are over when it comes to industry. Now, the last comment I want to make is about, I'm sorry, somebody just pulled in front of me. Guys, I want to wish you a good weekend. Barbara, have a good weekend. And, oh, yeah, the Trump deal. Now, listen to me, Mr. Northeast El Paso, our patient. If Trump followers really wanted to do a coup on January the 6th, with 80 million of us all armed to the teeth with at least 3 weapons each in each household, you would have known the difference, my friend. What happened on January the 6th was not a Trump insurrection. That was an Antifa infiltration, buddy. Research it. Look it up. Bye.
All right. Well, thank you for those points. Otherwise, I think it's pretty clear that in a lot of circumstances, January 6th was, I think there was some planning going on there, but a whole lot more people got swept up there. At the very least, you don't expect people planning to be insurgents in full body name of it to then be able to just fly back home and go about their lives. That's not how insurgents work in general. But we'll have to talk more about that in the coming weeks here because we are out of time here for this program. So I want to thank everyone who did call in, comment, participate in the show. What makes this show what it is, even if we have some very interesting conversations, but we'll do it again Monday through Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM next week. Again, been your host, Andrew J. Polk. Stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great weekend, y'all. Talk to you next week. Time for a Medicare moment with Eric with Advocate Health Advisors. Do you ever encounter veterans who are overinsured?
Yeah, we do. In certain circumstances, we find some veterans, they purchased a civilian product that duplicates the benefits that they already get through their military benefit, like TRICARE for Life, for example. This can be pricey when we discover it, but it's a quick fix that potentially puts thousands of dollars back in the veteran's pocket.
More info on that and much more. You can call Eric, your local advisor, wherever you're hearing this broadcast, at 1-800-876-0214. That's 1-800-876-0214.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
There continues to be some heavy traffic on Lee Trevino Drive northbound between Traywood and Pebble Hills. Also, there's some traffic on the 10 westbound between Ressler and Thorne Avenue. And there's construction that has the roadway reduced to 2 lanes on Gateway Boulevard northbound between Kenworthy and Sean Haggerty Drive. Also, the off-ramp is closed on the Loop 375 southbound at Alameda Avenue. I'm Marie Jourdain with traffic.
Recently, we hit the streets and found out how informed people really are.
Yes, I'm on top of events.
Most news, yes. Except for these two.
I am not on top of events.
I'm not on top of my events, no.
They were clueless that every morning they can plug into the world with the news, weather, and traffic info that'll make their lives so much easier and more informed. Just like you and I do. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Why should you volunteer with Meals on Wheels?
I never thought that 5 minutes could make so much difference in the lives of 2 people, but it has.
Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org. Brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day.
I don't watch television, so I get all my news from you.
News Radio 690. News KTSM. On the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is still hoping to get a successful vote on the infrastructure bill today or tonight. The $1.2 trillion measure has already cleared the Senate. House approval would send the infrastructure bill to President Biden's desk. Pelosi told reporters that some members still want more clarification on the costs of a bigger social spending bill. More Americans are back working. That's what the latest jobs report said, as the economy added 531,000 new jobs last month. The Labor Department reports job growth was widespread in many sectors. The report also revealed the number of long-term unemployed individuals fell by 357,000. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy is addressing his narrow re-election victory and how he'll approach that during his next term. Murphy says he takes it as residents indicating they need help from the state.
Quite clearly, there's a lot of hurt, a lot of people screaming out, basically saying, I need help and I need government to step in because no one else is stepping in.
He spoke of needing to get to more kitchen tables and step up to people's needs. This despite Republican challenger Jack Ciattarelli saying there are